Welcome to another edition of Play It Through, and this time around it's Rygar, one of my all-time favorite games, brought to us by Tecmo, who also has done the Ninja Gaiden series, the Dead or Alive series of fighting games, and the Monster Rancher series of games. Now this is an adventure game for the NES. This game is also released on a few other systems, but I'm going to be playing it on the NES. This is the version I am most familiar with. Now this game is pure adventure, and what makes it different from an action game is it actually tells a story. There's actually storyline elements, there's dialogue, talking, and all, and that's really what I think defines the difference between an action game, straight action, and an adventure game is the telling of a story through text boxes, as well as traveling through different lands, backtracking and that kind of stuff. Now right off the bat, I'm going to be doing my first thing I've ever done in one of my runs, and that's speeding up. Now, this part right here is the best way to get some experience quickly in the game. It takes a little bit of time and a little bit of effort, but you're pretty much just sitting here and holding in the button. Use a turbo button is the best. And, I'm just going to sit here for a few seconds and speed it up for a little bit, just so I can get up to 5 bars of health, which is you level up in the game, and when you level up, you gain more health. Of course, that's more useful than anything else. So I'm just going to speed up for a little bit. There's only one other time in this run that I'm going to use a speed up, which is later in the game. There's a part where I will use it to level up to about the amount of health that I should need in order to be able to complete this game. But as you can see, as I'm doing this, I'm leveling up, and now I got this full health. Now, I'll wait until I actually get full health. Hold on. There we go. Okay, now continuing on the game, and like I said, there will only be one other period of time where I actually will be using that speeding up in order to level up my character. You don't have to do it. You, of course, could just continue on and level up slowly, defeating all the random enemies that are out throughout the game, but it's usually, I always found it in all games, whether it's an adventure or an RPG game, just to pretty much pick a specific spot, usually early in the game, to just level up a lot, just so you're ahead of the competition in terms of the enemies you're going to be facing. So you don't have to do a whole lot of leveling up, random spots of leveling up. Just level up early and fast, and then you don't have to really worry about it till later on or much later in the game, or maybe not at all, depending upon certain games. It's just that's the way I do it. Of course, many people find that, of course, boring, but I'd rather be bored early or level up early than have to worry about being killed later on and then having to stop, level up there where it may not be, the surroundings may not be as well. No, I'm going to be taking the path that I take throughout this game that I'm most familiar with. And that means we're going to be heading, first and foremost, we're going to be getting the grappling hook, which right off the bat when you get into this area, and you're going to head to the left. Of course, this game, if you don't know already, of course has a lot of glitches, but one of the things you can do is by jumping, you pretty much can jump over all enemies that are when you're in this top-down version of the game, this top-down view. By jumping, you can pretty much negate all the enemies around you, jump over them. Unfortunately, you can't really bounce on the enemies like you can in the regular side-scrolling maps, but you really don't need to, because jumping, you can pretty much get around because you have a much bigger area to move around. There's the grappling hook. The grappling weapon will help you complete your quest. Those are, I call them the gurus. I don't know what they are. They're just, they have tons of them throughout the game that look exactly the same. I think they're called Endora, or at least the ones that give you the key items after defeating bosses. They call them, I think they're called Endora, or something like something similar to that. Anyway, you see them. You have to see them after defeating certain bosses. They drop or give you the weapon or item that you need in order to continue the game. Other than that, there's ones that are healing rooms, which I will be using later on, as well as ones that give you a health potion that will fully revive your health, that you actually can keep as an item and use when you need it the most, which is always very useful, but that won't be coming till much later in the game. And there's a whole bunch of them that are just giving you useless information, or maybe not useless information, but stuff that if you play the game once or twice before, you don't need to know. They'll just be like, oh, head down to fight this guy, or go here to fight this, or they will say something useless, like one of the guys in the game just says fight, 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 like 3 times, and that's all he says. Once you're in this area, you want to head over here, as I'm trying to jump over these and try to escape these guys. Grappling up here. You don't really need to grapple there, but I find I just grapple there. Unfortunately, I got hit by this bat creature, which, there we go. Jump over to this side and climb down the ladder. If you just jump off, you think you would just scroll down. No, you will die if you just jump off the side there. So if you've never played this game and don't know that, don't just fall off, and think that the screen will scroll down, because it would make sense considering if you climb down, it scrolls and you live and you continue on the game. But if for other reason you just fall down, you die and game over. And you pretty much start back from the beginning at areas. The game's pretty good though in terms of you don't have a whole lot of health, and there is enemies that can be really annoying, but for the most part it doesn't set you back too far. It doesn't completely make you restart the entire game because you lost all your health the first time. It can be actually useful in boss areas because you'll appear right in the same room. There's also a series of glitches you can use in the different boss rooms by dying in order to warp, because the way the game sets up the boss layers, they're like not in the same area as the maps that preceded them. So you'll die and you'll be warped to somewhere completely different, and that can be very useful, and you can beat the game within a very, very, very short period of time using those types of glitches. We're in, I think, Aruga's forest, E-R-U-G-A-A, U-G-A, Aruga, I'm pretty sure that's his name. Anyway, he's the boss of this area, and we need to defeat him in order to get an item that will allow us to continue the game. So, like I said, the adventure game, because you have a whole area where not everywhere is accessible right off the bat, but you have to kind of, listen to those guys, those random guru guys, as well as just trial and error to find the different areas you need to go to in order to get the items. So the game can take you a very long period of time, which is one of those things I always like being able to explore. So games like this, Xanadu, Metroid, have always appealed to me because they're not, some of them have leveling and RPG elements, but they also have a lot of action. So it's that cross between the two it's really, really fun, And I love straight action games, and I especially, of course, love RPGs as well. So that mix between them is perfect, in my opinion. And it's one of those it's kind of dead. They don't have a really, because most games now have storyline, as well as item collecting and stuff like that. So a game is just called action adventure now, or it doesn't have either genre. But as far as I was concerned, back in the day of the NES, those types of, they had action games and you had adventure games. There was a clear line between them. Adventure and all would be like Simon's Quest and stuff. Now here's Aruga, the first boss. Now I'm jumping on his head. You want to do this. This is a glitch. If you can pull it off, it's greatness, as you're going to see. By jumping on his head and facing the right side, I can get him to move over to the right. The problem is you got to time it correctly not to be hit by the fire, because of course you'll die if you get hit by the fire. You lose health or whatever. Of course you can just stand there in the middle of the screen and keep jumping in between the top two fireballs. I just got hit, unfortunately, which I should be able to avoid the rest of it, as I'm almost at the point where I need him to be. But see how he keeps going forward? I'll be able to use this to my advantage and get him stuck in the wall, in which case he won't be able to fire anymore, and I can just stand there and take him out with no extra problems anymore. Sometimes he stops firing. The bosses in the game are like the most useful glitches in the game are at bosses, and there's a few of them, and I'll show you them when we get to the other bosses as well. But see how I'm getting him just completely over to the right side of the screen. Eventually he'll just stuck and he won't move anymore. Okay, there we go. Now he's stuck. He's gonna keep making the sound to fire fireballs, but they just keep getting absorbed immediately by the tree. In which case I can just duck here and just keep holding in the turbo button or keep pressing the attack button, and I'll be able to completely drain all of his health in a matter of seconds, and not a whole lot of effort needs to go into it. It may take a few tries if you've never played it before in order to get it to work, because you have to learn that whole dodging of the fireballs and stuff like that. But it's one of those very useful glitches, especially if you're trying to do a run of this game without really getting any experience other than the boss battles, which is always a fun attempt to do in this type of game, and I guess it will be the most challenging run to do attempt doing Rygar. I'm not going to speed up the boss. I'm just not going to speed up the boss battles, just because there's just not a whole lot of need. You'll see how much you need. The only places I'll speed it up are are there's 2 level points, which I already did one, and one's coming later. But the bosses, you get to see the whole battle and, you know, how long it would take naturally to be able to do it. You can also use, you have a power-up spell that you can use, which will increase your, I think increases your attack a little bit. Go up, right after you get out of the area, go here and get your full health. Of course, and it does a healing room that Guru instantly fills your health up fully. So, take advantage of that. I usually stop by there every time after I've completed a boss, completed a world. So, that's, you know, just for whatever, you know, that's just for whatever. Now we're going to be heading to the spider lair, the dungeon that has the spider. We got the grappling, I forget what it's called, but it's pretty much essentially